Did you know that a friend unit can never be in the 7th slot? Or that tag characters' debuffs don't carry over between exchanges? Well, this is the type of tips and tricks that you'll learn in this video. Things you probably didn't know that could help you beat some of the hardest events in Dokkan. So yes, like I said earlier, a friend unit can never be in the 7th slot. And this also applies in Dokkan Battlefield. A little tip you can use there is to make your best leader the sub leader. That way, they'll never end up in the 7th slot. This tip has saved me so many times in Dokkan Battlefield, it's crazy. But what would be even crazier is if that tip was just straight up false and I'm just extremely lucky. But I swear, I've never had my sub leader start in the 7th slot. Now, the next fact is pretty well known, but I'll mention it anyways in case you're a newer player or just didn't know for some reason. The more defense you have, the more health you recover from same type orbs. So if you're low on health, you might want to save those same type orbs for your character with the most defense to heal as much HP as possible. The next fact is also extremely obvious. You can't take 0 damage in this game. Even if you have 100% damage reduction, you'll still take some damage. So keep that in mind if you're very low on HP and think you're safe. If you have 1 HP, you're dead, bro, no matter how much damage reduction you have. This tip is going to be especially useful for units that can orb change using an active skill, like LR Tech Gogeta for example, or in Nuken events where you can use items. If you didn't know, orb changing abilities or items are affected by the positions of your units in rotation. For example, you can use an orb changing item or transform into Super Gogeta, and if you're not happy with the orb placements, just restart the game, switch up the positions of your units, and potentially get a different outcome. Speaking of Gogeta, this is a well-known fact about the 50th anniversary Blue Fusions, but I'll mention it anyway. They have different buffs depending on the slot they're in. If you use their active skill while they're in the 3rd slot and then move them to the 1st or 2nd slot, or vice versa, they'll have all parts of their passives active for that turn. That turn with their active skill used to be so broken it was crazy, and since they have a 70% chance to dodge in the 3rd slot, you can pop their active skill in the 3rd slot and then move them to another slot, where their great chance to dodge will still be active. This is also true for most units who get buffs in specific slots when attacking, like Dokkan Pest AGL Android 16 for example, where the guy is clearly designed in a way that you can pop his active in slot 3 and then put him in slot 1, so he has both the defensive and offensive sides of his kit active. Same thing with the new Daimas percent for Goku. You can proc his active in the 1st slot for the attack support, then move him to slot 2 or 3 for his 40% crit buff, or vice versa. This is also probably common knowledge by now, but giant form transformations give you a free turn of no super attacks, or AoE normals from the enemy. Not exactly sure why, but every time I use a giant form transformation, like Super Saiyan 3 Goku's active skill transformation, when he's back to Super Saiyan 4, the enemy is never super or launch an AoE normal for that turn, which is insanely useful. Like, knowing that saved me so many runs, where I would have used unnecessary items or an active skill thinking the enemy could super me. It also resets the enemy's debuffs like sealing or locking at the start of turn. So if you had bad RNG with those, a giant form can give you another chance. Now this one is about units that can counter and launch multiple additionals. If you didn't know, every additional attack a unit launches counts as an additional chance for them to trigger their hidden potential system attack. This is why counter units that counter before attacking launch more additionals more frequently, or why units with a lot of built-in additionals seem to trigger their hidden potential system additional attack more often. Talking about the hidden potential system, just so you know, one additional in the hidden potential system equals a 2% chance of launching an additional attack, which has a 50% chance of being either a normal or super attack. The same goes for critical chance. One crit chance equals a 2% chance of critting on a normal or super attack, but one dodge in the hidden potential system equals only a 1% chance to dodge. Probably because dodge is like so OP. Like, not taking damage is arguably the strongest ability in the game. Back to fusions. If you didn't know, you can transform into either Super Gogeta or Super Vegito, check where the enemy's super attacks are thanks to their scouter, and then restart the game to defuse them. You can technically spam that ability forever as long as their transformation conditions are met, and you're not forced to keep them transformed. So they potentially have unlimited scouters, which is just crazy to think about. But I guess this is more of a tip for older events, since those guys are kind of outdated now, and with Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta in the current content, most oftentimes than not, you're forced into keeping him transformed. But the logic still stands. If there are other units in the game that work similarly, that I'm just not thinking about, you can use that trick with them too, or future units for that matter. On the same topic, if you have a unit with an active skill, and the active skill doesn't crit, you can reset the app, move the character to a different slot, and try again to potentially land a crit. From what I know, you might not even need to move the character to a different slot. You can just keep trying in the same slot until it lands a crit. but I'm not exactly sure about that one, and it's not like it matters that much nowadays, since most units have like guaranteed crits on their active skills. Another cool thing to know, attack buffs on super attacks that are given to all allies aren't calculated the same way as start of turn support type buffs. They're added to the other units' SA multipliers, making those buffs less impactful overall. So don't stress too much about putting your super attack support unit in the first slot. It's probably not worth it, as the buffs it gives to your allies is minimal, except for Vegito units that can counter. For some reason, those buffs on super are significantly more noticeable on counter attacks. Adding on to that, this is why you are better off putting Text for Vegito in slot 1. I used to think, like most people, that his APT will be better in slot 3, like Beast Gohan's or Golden Frieza's active skill turns, but nah, for Super Vegito, his APT will be much higher in slot 1, as his counters get much stronger once he supers. Well, only before 50 attack stacks. Apparently after 50 attack stacks, you are better off putting him in slot 2 or 3, because after 50 plus stacks, his base attack is already insanely high, so super in first doesn't really boost his damage much anymore. At that point, his counters before his super already hit hard, so putting him in slot 2 or 3 will give you more damage overall. But for almost every single event in the game, slot 1 is still the best slot. In how many events are you actually getting more than 50 stacks? Like, it's only Festival of Battles, and that's pretty much it. Also, did you know that tag units act as completely different characters in game? Meaning if you're using the tag Blue Zeus for example, and Super Saiyan Blue Goku gets debuffed, you can switch to Blue Vegeta and he won't have the debuffs that Goku had. As far as I know, the only debuff that can carry over between tag units is lock-in, but everything else gets removed. This won't help you directly in battle, but did you know that you can use keys to farm skill orbs from events that are supposed to be available only during certain celebrations? This means you can farm them year-round, without waiting for them to come back. Those skill orbs are outdated for the most part, but the level 3 silver stats skill orbs can still be useful on some units, in my opinion. Did you know that you can search up multiple categories by typing the first few letters of the categories you're looking for, instead of like searching them up individually? That tip can honestly save you some time in the long run. Like, how many times are we actually searching up categories in game? Pretty much every time you're building up a team. So yeah, that's a lot of time saved over time. Also, have you ever wondered how friend points are farmed? I never ever bothered to know up until this year's anniversary. Like, those guaranteed featured units multis are just too good to pass on. So I did some research, and the best way to farm friend points is to run a stage with a friend unit. Not a guest, but a friend unit. Friend units give 100 friend points per run, and guest units give you 50 friend points per run. So I think that your best bet would be to run a link level stage or the new WIS event for the sweet new equips. And to make things even faster, you could even curate your friend list, like only keep rainbow units. That way the game will automatically pick your friend units over the guest units available. Talking about link level stages, we all know how important link levels on a character are. Like, the difference between a fully link level 1 unit and a link level 10 unit is pretty significant. But with all of the recent story mode updates we got in the last year, do you actually know which stage is the best to link level your units? Well, Amber on Twitter made a pretty decent visual guide covering everything. Make sure to give her a follow, her content is genuinely so helpful for newer players. But yeah, this is how it goes. If you care about EXP and also link level, the best stage is 39-3. If you care less about link leveling and more about faster EXP grind, 38-7. If you want the most efficient stage stamina wise for link leveling your units, 33-2 on the Z hard difficulty is the way to go. If you also want to farm incredible gems at the same time, 32-2. And if you only want to farm blue gems, 35-4. And obviously try to utilize the Chamber of Spirit and Time event every Dokkan day, as this is literally the best link level stage in the game. Also, another obvious fact, don't forget to clear the Turtle School event every single day. You can also use the bonus blue keys to attempt all the multiple link level stages, weekly or daily depending on the stage. But yeah, that's it for today. If I said something wrong, feel free to correct me in the comments down below, and if you've got other tips that could help your fellow Dokkan players, leave them in the comments down below. Take care, peace.